Hey, what's up everybody? It's Carpo here, and well, as if we didn't already know that we were pretty, had a hard time relaxing in life. This study that I just read in this paper, I just had to share this. This study, being alone with thoughts, not easy. And this is a short article that really sums up society here, and the society that we live in. I'll just read it. It says, test subjects prefer electric shocks to complete solitude. How far would you go to avoid being alone with your thoughts? People vastly prefer passive activities such as reading or listening to music over spending just a few minutes by themselves. Being alone with no distractions was so distasteful to 2/3 of men and a quarter of women that they elected to give themselves mild electric shocks rather than sit quietly in a room with nothing else than the thoughts in their heads, according to a study from the University of Virginia. While the ability to mentally detach is unique to humans, it is not often done, the researchers said. In a hyper-connected world with constant internet access and entertainment options, Department of Labor data show 83% of Americans don't spend any part of their day just thinking. 83% don't spend any part of their day just thinking. The series of 11 experiments detailed in the journal Science show the extent people will go to avoid the experience. Our intuition was that this shouldn't be so hard, said Timothy Wilson, the lead researcher and a psychologist at the university. We kept being surprised by our own results. A few people did enjoy it, but for most, not so much. Researchers initially asked a group of 146 college students to sit in an empty room without books, mobile phones, or any distractions, and provide these simple instructions. Stay in your seat, stay awake, and entertain yourself with your own thoughts for 6 to 15 minutes. 6 to 15 minutes, okay? Not an hour. It was harder than they expected. Most students reported that their minds wandered. Also, they were bored. A follow-up effort found similar results when students were asked to go through the same steps in a quiet room at home. They were even less likely to enjoy the experience. 1/3 cheated by listening to music, playing on a mobile phone, or moving around. While most of the work was done with college students, the researchers recruited participants in a church and a farmer's market to test the theory in older people. The results didn't stem from a generation gap. There was no evidence that any group, based on age, education, income, or social media usage, was more likely to appreciate the time spent in reflection. The researchers pushed even further, concluding that it may take negative stimulation to get the participants to embrace having time to think. In this case, they evaluated whether volunteers would prefer an unpleasant activity, an electric shock, rather than no activity at all. This time, participants were left alone in a room with access to a device to jolt them with an electric shock from a 9-volt battery. All had previously given themselves a test shock as part of the experiment so they wouldn't choose it out of curiosity. They deemed it painful and said they would pay to avoid experiencing it again. A dozen men, or 67% of the group, gave themselves at least one, and as many as 4 shocks, as did 6 of the 24 women. The male inclination to deliver the shock most likely stemmed from a higher sensation-seeking drive, the research said. Hey, those results aren't really that surprising to me, but I found that I know that I'm guilty of the sitting quietly part too. And I know a lot of us are. And this is why people set aside time for meditation. It's not really the act of meditation, it's the act of clearing the mind, but meditation is supposed to be almost, well, many people, everybody meditates differently, but devoid of thought. In other words, clearing your mind. But sitting and thinking. I do this all the time, but of course I'm always fidgeting, doing other things too. I guess I never really realized it. I'm probably one of the guilty parties, but I enjoy thinking. I enjoy my thoughts, and it's amazing to me that it says that so many Americans, people in general, I'm sure, don't spend any part of their day thinking. I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. I just thought it was a really cool article and wanted to share it. So, take care, everybody.